Hello and welcome to another episode of the Disaster Empire podcast. I'm Ashley Gooseman, and this is the podcast where we talk to thought leaders and innovators in resilience. And so I'm really excited to have a returning guest back with us this time around. Hi, Rob. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm great, Ashley. How are you? Happy New Year.
Good. And for those who don't know Rob Burton is the lead for PreparedX and ICMC, the International Crisis Management Conferences. I'll let you talk more about that, Rob. And we're really glad to have you back. And for the audience, please like and subscribe because that helps the YouTube algorithm to grow this channel. Really would love to get this messaging out to more folks. And really, I'm excited to talk to Rob about everything crisis craft, exercise, and training as it relates to resilience. So we're going to dive right in. And Rob, so we know, right, that crisis exercising really enhances an organization's preparedness. And what do you think are the key elements that businesses should be focusing on right now? And how can they go about doing that?
A big part of what we've gotten away from is some of those nuts and bolts, as I like to call it. So we went into COVID and we disappeared to our homes, or we disappeared to the four corners of the earth, and we got away from that. Those basics and that. The touch, the personal touch. That we lost when we left the office. Of course, we live in a digital age. We work digitally. So from a crisis response standpoint, the team could be anywhere, any one moment, but what I'm seeing is people coming back together, Ashley, after this long period of time, and the tremendous benefits from that. And we saw that at the conference, right? So those leaders that were coming back to the conference last year and the last 2 years really are really happy that budgets have, started to come up, or be released a little bit, not always ideal, but and they're able to get back together around the table, and we're going to talk about tabletops and shaking hands and so I think it's just good to have people surrounded come back together after those long periods out. Even if you can make that commitment once a year for your leaders to do that, I think there's tremendous benefits. And I'm doing that with customers now who have gone through 2 or 3 years of running them virtually. If they can get a core team together, really good things happen across the table when we shake those hands. There's new team members that have come on for the last 2 or 3 years. Actually, it happens. They rotate through. So get back together, get around that table at least once a year if you possibly can, and good things will come from that.
Rob, what are some of the most common challenges that you see that organizations face in conducting exercises, and what are some of maybe the best practices that you've observed or you're helping your customers with today and making that meaningful?
Yeah, I think there are a couple of key ones that we always talk about. Making sure we've got the effective tabletop exercise objectives. If we're going to more advanced of the exercises, and making sure what our goals are very clear and achievable. That's very a common one that everyone talks about. But what I will say is, when we come together, we have a phrase called "I didn't know that," meaning that we can't work on a problem unless we understand what the challenges are. And so you can only really do that through effective scenario planning, bringing those cross-functional leaders together, or bringing your team together. If you're in one area of the organization, it's important that we come and train and exercise those teams on an individual group basis, but of course, really important that we do that cross-functionally. So really important. Some of those key elements is don't get too technical. If you're running even if you're running a cyber exercise, right? So you've seen this, Ashley, across the board where, if we've got an executive group together, if we go down a rabbit hole of being too technical with a scenario, you're going to lose them. You're going to ask more questions, and very quickly, the 90 minutes that you have with them will go south, and you don't have much time with them. So make sure it's well planned out. So I really like, of course, there's lots of communication challenges when you're dealing with, a cyber crisis. You're just using that as one example. So again, I think keeping it, limited to the technical side of the scenario is important. Of course, you need that technical individual there. Often the CISO might be there, or some of the other individual, depending on the scenario. From an SME standpoint, is there to answer any of those questions. But again, it's really important that those scenarios are designed effectively, efficiently, and crafted in a way that senior folks, especially at the C-suite level, are not wasting those 60 to 120 minutes, whatever time you have with them. And then the third part of your question, I think, what we've done, over the years is create a full service from a Prepared X standpoint, a full service offering that's really custom to the organization. So, of course, this takes a little bit more time, especially in the executive level exercises. We do custom binders, for instance, for some of our customers who like that unique experience. Even down to having some of our simulated handouts, such as like a Wall Street Journal looking newspaper that we put in front of the executives, and the next morning they're above the fold because they're dealing with a crisis. So again, the executives still read newspapers; they still pick them up in the morning, right? So it's really just unique things like that will make the experience. Again, it's about the experience that we've felt over the years that's really kept our customers coming back and new customers, jumping on board. So the full service offering is not going away, and again, that's quite a unique service, and we find that is growing. And then the other things that we've got going on, Ashley, you're familiar with our First Look product, so we're kind of upgrading that this month actually. So we're gonna have a First Look Pro product and a First Look Plus product. So the Pro is a custom scenario that we design, but you deliver. So it's a scenario that you get all the bells and whistles from Prepared X. You get all the videos, the multimedia. Jenny and her team put that craft all that good stuff together that makes those trainings really engaging. And there's even a guide video in the top corner of the scenario that walks you through. So that's coming along nicely, the Pro product. And then the First Look Plus is basically a scenario that you download. So you might be a warehouse, for instance. We've just finished the warehouse series. There's 4 different scenarios. There's a fire scenario. You've got an active shooter scenario. We've got a hazmat spill scenario. I forget what the 4th is off the top of my head. But essentially, a warehouse who's got multiple warehouses around the country can download that kit. They buy credits and they can send these scenarios off, and those teams can walk through a fictitious scenario where they handle a situation. And we're doing that for lots of sectors. We're doing that for lots of different scenarios. I think we just finished an earthquake scenario for businesses in San Diego. So if you're a business in San Diego and you're concerned about earthquakes, we're going to do LA next, and then we're going to work our way up the coast. I think we've already done Seattle actually, and then further north, we're going to do some more for Alaska. Sorry, I was blanking there. So that's it. Yeah, great. A few months ahead of us with the new launch of First Look Plus and the rebranding of the Pro version. But yeah, super excited about the times ahead.
So it's great. It sounds like you have really offered customers the ability to work with you. They can do the full and have you come in and do the exercise for them, right? Partner with them, or you're offering products where they can take kind of like a pre-made scenario and then adjust and deliver as well to their organization. One of the other things, and I don't want you to be humble here, but a great thing that you've brought to some of the trainings that I've sat in on is that, like you said, you make it maybe fun or realistic. So you bring those aspects of realism into the exercise as well. And I know we're going to see each other in person coming up soon in February, because you're offering also the ability for practitioners to come in and learn some training design and exercise design. So you want to talk a little bit about that opportunity as well?
Yeah, so through ICMC, which is our awareness and training organization, the International Crisis Management Conference, we put on workshops from time to time where we bring folks. Again, we like to get people around the table, shaking hands, networking. Of course, is great for that. But more importantly, is share our craft. Right, our craft is exercise design, and we want to share that experience with those that want to elevate their game, either internally within an organization, or if they're an individual practitioner, they've got customers. So we've even got consultants that come to us for training as well, so they can go back out and better serve their constituents. So it's really exciting. And in Boston, like you mentioned, we have a geopolitical tabletop exercise, a geopolitical risk tabletop exercise coming up that's based on the China and Taiwan conflict that's going on, obviously, over there in Asia. So organizations that, and again, this is not just for organizations that have got that risk or are concerned about that threat. This can be for any entity that's concerned or wants to improve their tabletop exercise. And again, it could be geopolitical, or they could come and learn lots anyway around what the training is going to be all about. So we're going to have a scenario. We're going to walk you through the steps of the scenario. We're going to have some tools and resources to take away. And it's going to be, I think, a great experience for those that make the effort. Of course, low cost as well, compared to what a custom scenario would be if we came in and ran that. So that's really fun. I know Ashley, Liberty is going to be hosting as well, so we appreciate that.
Excellent. So I'll go ahead and link that below for people who are interested. Are there any other similar opportunities right now, or are you thinking about that maybe for the future?
Yeah, so every month, as you know, we put on at least 2 webinars. So we put on a what we call a Tea and Chaos webinar. So that's for our ICMC members. We're a membership organization. Just $99 for the year, and there's a ton of content and other features within the International Crisis Management Conference website. As you know, Ashley, you've spoken before, as well as I believe you may have been on a podcast or on the Tea and Chaos before. So all those videos are all inside our system. So over 150 experts talking about different areas of crisis management, exercises, different threats, from cyber through to active shooter through to, you name it, we've got it in there. So that's a really cool opportunity for folks to get in just for $99 and learn so much specifics. A lot of noise on LinkedIn, a lot of different groups on LinkedIn. So what we try to do is bring those groups together into an environment where, again, they can network as well. So we've got opportunities in there for them to chat with each other as well, specifically about their challenges. And then beyond the traditional webinars that we do, we've got the conference coming up, of course, in June. It's going to come up really quick already. I've got the team, pushing to get everything up and ready to start offering the passes for the conference, 2-day conference in Newport, Rhode Island. And we have day one, 8 speakers and 4 panelists. So it's going to be, we're going to cram a lot in day one. A great networking event the night before. I think we ran the stats, Ashley, and I think we had about 65% of the participants turn up the night before, which doesn't usually happen at a conference. People kind of roll in the next morning, and you may get a small group coming together. But so yeah, we're really excited about that. We want that to continue to grow, and folks getting together for a cocktail or a bite to eat, whatever you choose. So that's super exciting. Day 2, we're going to have some more training courses being finalized now. So what we want to do is cover those folks that are kind of new and coming into crisis management. So we want to serve them from a training standpoint as well. So we'll have some kind of training from a crisis management 101 perspective, a little bit more advanced. But of course, those experts that have not been involved in dealing with crises for a while, they may want to freshen their skills as well. So we often get those folks that are more senior from the industry come and sit in on those classes, and they pick up little pieces from what we educate the folks with. So yeah, we're looking forward to that. And then the other course we've not decided yet, but maybe more of a technical type course, incident response specific, maybe cyber related. But again, all of our courses, all our training, we got lots of scenarios built into them, so people have an opportunity to think and go through different scenarios with their industry peers, which is really good because again, you get that perspective from an industry peer, even if it's from a different market, even if it's from a different industry. Those thoughts of those different individuals, that what they're doing with their programs and what you're doing with yours, and you can pick up some really nuanced answers to some of the questions that you may have from a response management and training perspective.
Absolutely. So you've really created so many ways that people can engage in this work. And I think that's wonderful. They can go for the very high end, right, in person, having your team come in, provide that exercise for you, work with you to develop that, to, as you said, kind of this packaging, of they can take your scenario and work with that, to opportunities where they can come and network and meet other professionals, like with the conference, and learn about best practices in the industry today. And, I can attest to it's my favorite conference. It is.
Oh, thank you.
Because I get to talk to my crisis management colleagues, up close and personal. but I'd love to see it grow. So I really encourage folks. It's in Newport, Rhode Island. Great location, right before the summer hits. And as you said, it is very well attended in terms of engagement. People really stay throughout the conference. And I think another thing that you're offering with your day too is that ability to really, again, for practitioners who've been around for a while or for those that are new, to what are, the ways that best practice is really being rolled out today. What are the ways that you can do an exercise that's fresh or new, or really you're seeing is resonating with your customers, because really that's the value of working with an organization like yours, because you get to see and talk to so many people. And those of us in the industry are really talking to our organization. And so, however, I know that all of the companies out there, all of the executive leaders are very interested in benchmarking. They want to make sure they're staying on top of trends. Obviously, you're not going to pick something that doesn't work for that organization or for that culture, but it makes so much sense, Rob. So I want to thank you and your team. And I think that you're offering things virtually as well. And then, I think your membership program online is undersold, frankly, because there's so many great resources in there. And the more people that are in there and engaging, right, the more networking people can do in their own time. And it's, very easy to access and get into. So just wanted
I think actually, just if I may, I think as I had another thought there, we've been able to serve, the different areas from the very top of those experts in the field from different organizations all the way through to those coming into the industry, which is quite challenging when you've got different speakers coming in or different trainings that you want to offer. So we've been able to master that really and enable for you, Ashley, who's been, doing, instant response for a while, obviously training in your organization, able to serve you. And then, of course, those individuals that are looking for a way to figure this out from day one, we've been able to serve them as well. So we're really proud of that fact. It's good in business to focus on one specific area, but I think we're able to kind of serve everyone from the mid markets through to the Fortune 100s.
That's excellent. And so really you've created an ecosystem, so which is really what I wanted to share and really encourage people to go ahead and check that out. And we'll make sure to link to all of those opportunities below as well. Well, hey, Rob, this is the time in the podcast where I ask you the question that I ask all of my guests, but we've met before. So I wanted to ask you, as this podcast is about resilience, has your views on resilience changed at all since we last spoke?
Yeah, not really. As I think about it, I think last time we would, I kind of, described an elite, set of soldiers, special forces guy. It's a team that's strong, adaptable, that's trained. And I think, so I tried to kind of put some thoughts together on a one-liner just to clean that up. So resilience is the adaptability and determination of an organization's people, ensuring success through collective skill and strategic agility. So I go back to that elite soldier that brings those unique and skills and unwavering commitment to the mission, right? So as an organization, we need those strong teams across the board, not just the responders like yourself, Ashley, not just those that are responsible for training and exercising, but right down across the board. Who's the customer-facing teams, the marketing teams, of course, your executive teams need that as well. So it's about the people ensuring that together we have those skills and the ability to adapt.
Excellent. Well, hey, can you share any success stories from exercise or from, customer feedback in terms of engagement with you and your team?
Yeah, so I don't think I've been asked that question before. Of course, I do occasionally jump on other podcasts as well. So I need to do more of these, Ashley. So you got me, and I was asked to go on another one recently as well. So I'm trying to do the rounds as much as I can. It came from a customer several years ago now in the mining industry, and it was we had done a number of tabletops and other types of drills. I think we did one or two full scales with them as well. So they were a customer for 4 or 5 years, and we really did a lot of different scenarios based on the risks that they have. So we had done a tabletop just prior to an event happening at one of their sites, which I'm going to read you an email in a second that I actually go back and find from from the client. So I should use it more in in our marketing, in testimonial materials. Again, the British in me, just so we don't shout
That's right.
loud and
That's
proud.
why I'm
Yeah, I
helping
know,
you,
right?
Rob.
I know. So this individual says, I wanted you to see this email chain. We had a small fire incident at our mine. I won't mention the location today, with 70 miners underground. Of course, as you know, a mine fire underground is very, very difficult for organizations to deal with. So all are safe and accounted for, but we went into full crisis mode. Please see the highlighted item below. In particular, a note from one of the executives to the entire SLT, recapping the day, and most notably calling our recent drills in Canada as a big help in today's response. So he went on to say that, the ability, after doing the drills, they had better organization. They were able to react better, obviously go through the various different steps that they had. So to receive something that's, almost, not obviously not life-saving, but we're able to, organize the team that's above ground with the miners that are underground, that go to the shelters to, I think they have 24 or 36 hours of oxygen down in the shelters. And of course, there's a whole emergency response going on down there, but above the ground as well, remaining organized. And that's what we did. We came in, we ran a tabletop, and we got them to, remain calm and have a thorough process. We integrated the incident command system, into their planning. So that really helped them, figure out this particular issue. But yeah, 70 miners came home that day, and we were a small part of that happening. So really proud of the team for doing that.
Excellent. And that speaks to the preparedness, right, that you helped that team to gain and the organization, and that they had a sense of what to do. And to me, that is really the value of exercising, is all the work that people put in ahead of time is really understanding the process, the roles, the responsibilities, so that when bad things do happen, you can jump in and you don't have to search for a binder, right, or a guide. Right. May have that as a reference, but the fact is, you know what to do because you've thought through, right, or you've walked through similar circumstances. Yep. And I think sometimes that gets lost, right? Especially, after COVID, for some organizations, they feel like, well, they dealt with the biggest thing ever and they're ready. And the fact that I think we know is that's not the case. And although there's a huge leaning forward in terms of risk exposure, which I think is great, and readiness, in that perspective, there's always going to be the unplanned and the unknown events. And I thank you and your team for trying and working to keep your customers at the ready for that as well. So I did want to ask you, as we close out today, what are some of the trends that you're seeing? Because again, you have a perspective of working with various organizations. And I know, at least in my, corner right now, I'm starting to hear interest. There's still interest in the tabletop exercises, right? And the walkthroughs, and especially with executives, finding ways to make it engaging, which I know that your team does very well. But I think throughout the organization, some of the themes that I'm hearing and from my colleagues is the term microsimulations. You might have heard that. Or how do we provide the knowledge base and that preparedness in the most effective way possible? So I wanted to hear from you, like, what are you seeing as trends? Is that resonating with what you're hearing, or are you seeing something different? And what might you suggest to the audience?
Yeah, that's certainly, certainly one of them that we've been hearing for, probably a couple of years now, right? So how do we, but we still need a program approach, right? So, the micro simulations are great, and they're good for, keeping us busy and keeping us effective and enhancing those skills. I think, what we don't want to get away from, though, is a crisis is not over typically in 10 minutes, right? So you may have a 10-minute micro simulation with your team, which again is great on a regular basis, but the reality is we need to still bring them into that 3 hour, if it's a larger exercise, a 6 hour event, get them to experience those tough times for a long period of time and put some pressure on them, right? So again, the micro simulations still lead up to that. So yeah, that is one. Of course, we're hearing a lot about AI and the different tools that are out there. I'd expect to see, if there's not already, and again, we try and keep a finger on the pulse. I'd expect to see some kind of AI-driven, a simulation tool that organizations can bring in-house, right? Because it's about your organization. So the challenges right now, of course, it's public information, right? Chat GPT, anything you put in there, obviously it's going to build on that. So great for some of the basics, great for drafting out some questions, great for thinking about some ideas. So, but beyond that, obviously, you want to make it specific, the scenario plan to your environment. But I would expect an AI tool like that to be out there soon enough where it can be kind of quickly adapted and brought into the organization and, very quickly. Again, I think that's challenging though. So again, it's got to connect to different systems. I'm sure, the CTO is going to have pull his or her hair out when they hear about, oh no, we want to bring AI into better scenario plans. So again, I see some challenges around that as well. So yeah, but definitely the micro simulations are here to stay. We've even advised with our scenarios that you pull down, you can do them in 30-minute blocks, right? So we typically have a 90-minute scenario, our first look product. So, do the 30 minutes, the reaction piece, you do the management piece, another 30 minutes, next month, and then do the recovery piece later on as well. So you can break those down if you choose to do that. But so I think AI and the micro simulations are fairly new and here to stay and will be refined. And of course, the technology as well around those micro simulations. There's a number of technologies out there that are pushing scenario planning in the marketplace. So some organizations that want to go down that path and introduce more technology is great. If they have that ability to do that, some organizations, either from a budget standpoint or from an organization not being as advanced in their ability to implement technology, then they're going to stay clear and they're going to go with the traditional, PowerPoint presentation. All those hours are PowerPoint presentations, but, are really bubbling PowerPoint presentations that, really do engage. So I think you can still do it on a budget as well. And of course, you can buy the technology and go down that path if your organization is ready for that.
And I agree with all of that. And I think those are definitely avenues to explore to enhance readiness. But I also think there is so much value, especially as you were talking about earlier with either newly formed teams. You talked about turnover, which is happening in organizations, or organizational changes are happening all the time. I don't see that trend going away. So the value of getting those individuals together, even if they knew each other previously, they are new in their roles or they're new on being a crisis team. And I think there is, again, so much value to bring those individuals together around a scenario to talk through it because it's different than the everyday. And I think sometimes that's the challenge, right? With the executive teams, they have so much going on, or with crisis teams in general, right? Everyone is so busy, but yet bringing them together around a realistic scenario, as you said, that fits the organization. That's where I see the magic, right? So to speak, happen. And that's where that light bulb goes off and they're like, okay, we're really not as prepared for X, right? As we thought they were. And I think the days of organizations thinking they're not going to have a large scale or, enterprise-wide, global, right? Or even something that is going to affect a majority of your critical business processes is gone. Because with, I think, coming out of COVID, dealing with the pandemic, that certainly is one exercise. But with the increased risk for many companies, regardless of who you are, of those cyber, as you've mentioned, of IT infrastructure, critical infrastructure outages, or even vendor outages because of the reliance on outsourcing or supply chain. Like we've seen those scenarios play out. Even if you haven't been directly affected, your organization has seen those things happen to others or in the geopolitical environment as we're seeing now, right now. So why not? be prepared for that if that is a risk that your organization could.
Yeah, I think outside of the box as well. Here's one for you. I don't know if you're monitoring the post office scandal at the moment. It's called Horizon. And so in the UK, they had some software introduced 20 years ago. And each post office has a post office master around the country. And some 700 individuals were either went to jail. These were individuals in the post. And what happened was the software went rogue. And basically the software, it made it look like the postmasters were stealing money.
Oh, wow.
When actually they were not stealing money. So,
wow.
And it was a broken process as well. So each post office was not talking. This is pre Facebook, pre social media. Yeah. So the post offices were not sharing information, and so they were being told, no, it's your fault. The money's gone missing in your accounting system, and it turns out the software was wrong.
Wow.
And so now so it's everything I'm watching right now, Sky News and BBC, everything's around this scandal right now. So it's going through the courts right now. And of course, so here's back to, my reason for saying this is a company in Japan, Fujitsu, I believe the name of the company was the original software provider of this system. Mm. So now, the British taxpayer is going to pay millions, multi-millions, actually, it's going to be, hundreds of millions, apparently, back to these individuals who for the last 20 years were prosecuted. I think 3 or 4 of them committed suicide.
Wow.
And so there's a show on Netflix. I think it's not Netflix. It's on one of the channels now. It just came out. It's 4 episodes. It's a drama about the whole crisis. Wow. And it's really brought it to the forefront of the government, and it's all over the news. But the point being is this software company now is going to get dragged back into it 20 years later. And of course, that's going to cause them. So anyway, again, that's an example of thinking outside of the box in terms of your scenario planning.
Well, hey, Rob, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. Is there anything else that you wanted to share with the audience that you haven't gotten a chance to talk about?
Not really. Just a reminder of the conference coming up on the 5th and 6th of June, 2024. This conference, again, in Newport, Rhode Island here, bringing some great minds together. One thing, the unique thing about our conference, Ashley, is, of course, we like to bring some of the same speakers back, but we traditionally try and get new voices heard, right, from different areas of the crisis management world. So we've got a speaker coming from the UK this year to Rhode Island. We've got a speaker coming from our panelists coming from Australia. And of course, we usually get folks coming in from around the world, as well as our New Englanders and our US and Canadian and even Mexican constituents as well. So we're super excited about that. And I just want to say thank you very much, Ashley, for pushing the boundaries with what you're doing in the marketplace, pushing ICMC and PreparedX. We really appreciate that and everything that you're doing for the industry. So kudos to you. You've come, in such a small period of time. You've got lots of great speakers on. And I like you sharing the videos as well. I think that's important. Something we've done based on the fact that you've been doing that. So we chop up our videos as well and put them in for our ICMC consumers when we run the podcast. So that's something that came from what you were doing.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. And I really do encourage our audience to check everything out that Rob is doing, PreparedX, ICMC. It really is an amazing ecosystem of support, really, that they are providing in the crisis management space. So I want to thank you again. Rob, it's great to talk to you. Thanks you so much for being on the podcast. And I know that we'll be in touch soon.
Yeah, I'll see you in February for Boston. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you.
Bye.